Welcome back to Prepper Nation. I'm John, of course. Thank you for being here, joining the discussion. Thank you for sharing it out, hitting like, hitting subscribe. Thank you, folks, fine folks, in the coffee club and also Patreon. Talking is hard this morning, apparently. Unfortunately, the topic that we're going to be talking about this morning is also hard. And it's a topic that touched on in the past, and I've caught a lot of heat for it. And I understand. I do. I understand. It sounds like I'm being a defeatist, but I'm not. I'm being a realist when I talk about this. So we've been doing lists all week. We're gonna continue to do that, but today, 5 reasons the America you know and love is finished. And again, I know that's going to be touchy for some because I see a lot of posts. We need to stand up. It's time to stand up. We can't continue to take this. We can't do this. And I understand the anger and I understand the frustration, but I don't understand how you don't understand that it's already over. So what I'm going to be doing, I promised there was going to be historical context as well. I'm going to give you the 5 reasons that I believe America, at least the America that we grew up in, we know, we love, is finished. But I'm going to tell you that according to history.com, these 5 reasons are also the reasons that the Roman Empire fell. Let that sink in. Italy's still there, right? The United States will be here. It's just going to look wildly different. And I think there's some people here in the United States that are still in that Roman Empire mindset. And they believe, oh, we can still save the empire. We can still save the empire. And then some of us, myself included, understand the empire's over. And we're moving to the next phase of whatever this country is going to be. And I think the more people that accept that, it's going to be easier for you to survive it. Because if you have not accepted it and you see the collapse that is coming, which we'll talk about later this week, you're not going to understand what's going on. Okay. So I'm really trying to make the parallels again from history.com. I'm not pulling this from some random blog, why the Roman Empire fell, but also 5 reasons the America you know and love is finished. All right. So in no particular order, because all 5 are very important. All 5 led to the demise of both the Roman Empire, other empires as well, and countries throughout history, but also here in the United States. So, number 1, again, no particular order, invasions by the barbarian tribes. So, during the Roman Empire, barbarians were just coming in. They were just coming across the borders. They were coming across uninvited, unannounced. They basically overran the Roman Empire. And of course, the parallel here is, and people will say, well, you're dehumanizing people. No, I'm spitting facts this morning. The same thing is happening and has been happening. And our politicians continue to allow it to happen. The Roman Empire, the Romans, they could have stopped this early on, but they didn't. Same here with the United States. We could have early on stopped this, and maybe this would not be an issue. But there are too many barbarians across the border at this point. There's no real plan to get them out of here. I've told y'all 8,000 times, and I'm going to tell you, time 1,001, I guess. None of the candidates running in 2024 for president are going to get rid of these people en masse. We don't have the military. We don't have the infrastructure. And we have, let's say, for example, because Harris is not going to deport these people. I mean, you just know it. Kennedy is not going to deport these people. Me personally, I don't think Trump is going to deport these people. But if you hold him at his word, he says he's going to. The courts are going to be involved. Congress is going to be involved. They're not going to allow it to happen, folks. They're just not going to allow it to happen. The people that are here illegally are here to stay. And that's just what it is. You know, he may push to the point where he's able to get rid of, who knows, 10,000 of the worst criminal element within that group. But we're talking about dozens of millions at this point. They've already overran Rome, or in this case, the United States. The damage is done, and it continues to happen every day. So moving on to number 2. Roman Empire fell because of economic trouble and debt, national debt. See if that sounds familiar. Economic trouble and national debt. Make the parallel now from the Roman Empire to the United States of America. You look at our national debt that we can never in a billion years hope to pay off. We don't have enough taxpayers. The taxpayers don't have enough exposable income. You're never going to get taxpayers to pay this debt off. And on top of this, you have economic trouble, big time, in this country. I'm not saying it's as bad as the Great Depression, at least not yet. But you have to consider this, all right? It's pretty bad and stacked on top of other things that we have going on. You look at the Great Depression, okay, yeah, that was horrible. That was horrible. But we weren't caught up in endless wars that we were paying for. We weren't nation building, right? We weren't being sacked at our southern border. We did not have a myriad of social welfare programs. We just didn't have any of this stuff. And so you take a look at our economic trouble. What was the national debt back then? I'm not sure. But I know that it's increased since then. Rome, one of the top 5 reasons Rome fell is because of this. They actually got to the point where they were going door to door, confiscating gold. They were remelting money down because they used coinage back then, remelting it down, you know, taking it from a gold piece, for example, to just trace amounts of gold. We've seen this already in our society. You know, for those that collect coins, man, quarters used to have a little bit of silver in them. Now they're just junk metal. And it continues to get worse. Now they're moving us off the metal entirely, and they're going to put us on a digital currency. Same thing. They're just melting it down to nothing, okay? Number 3. See if this sounds familiar. Roman Empire. One of the reasons they fell was overexpansion and overspending of the military. They couldn't conquer enough. They could not be involved in enough wars. They couldn't get enough of it. We're talking about the mighty Roman Empire here, right? They could not get enough. And this cost a lot of money. Look at current day United States. We outspend, I think it is the next 5 or 6 countries combined on our defense budget. Our money is allocated for war. We cannot get enough war. We're all over the place. People say, you're the world's police officer. But honestly, it's stupid because we haven't learned from the mistake the Romans made. We're falling right into the same ditches that they did, and there's no end in sight. It's not like they're reining back military spending. It's not like they're bringing troops home. They're not even trying to correct the problem. And again, this is something that during the Roman Empire, they could have corrected early on by bringing troops home, by not trying to take over half of the world, right? And spending money everywhere. We're doing the same thing. Early on, we could have fixed it. Now I believe it's too late. Number 4, man, does this sound familiar? Rome was sacked because of government corruption and political instability. Folks, there's so much corruption at the government level. If you don't think our government is corrupt, I can't even help you at this point. I'm glad you're here. Hey, man, I'm glad you're here. We can hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but you need to understand all governments are corrupt. But you take a look at the United States, man, we are super, super corrupt at the government level. And we're politically unstable. How many elections now have we heard? This is the last election. If it doesn't go this way, if it doesn't go this way, who can forget the summer of love? Who can forget all of the violence, etc., etc.? Again, going right down the same path that the ancient Roman Empire went down. It's crazy. It's crazy to look at these two and see the similarities and know that either our government doesn't get it or they just don't care. You know, maybe they're just lining their pockets before the collapse. And number 5, if I can pull the note card out here, son, the weakening of the Roman legions. So this would have been their military, the weakening of the Roman military. 2 things happened here, okay? So number 1, the Roman Empire, when it was strong, part of their strength was their core societal values, right? I mean, they were a different civilization for sure. Not everything that they were okay with, we should be okay with, but they had their core values. And what happened was those values began to change. I don't know if you would call it liberalism. This is a long time ago here. All right. But things began to change. And it began to change in the Roman legions, the Roman military. Their soldiers, who were once mighty and once feared, began to be perceived by enemies as weak. If you take a look at 2024, the United States of America, you look at our recruitment commercials, for example, and what you will see is somebody that's really emotionally weak and they've got same-sex parents and they're just trying to do their part. And then you look at the recruitment videos from other countries and you realize they're not playing, son. They're not playing. They are war ready, whether you agree with them or not. So we're seeing that, but also what happened with the weakening of the Roman legions is they no longer had the numbers. They no longer had the troop strength. Does that sound familiar? There weren't enough people that were interested in fighting at some point. And we're seeing that right now. And what the Romans ended up doing is they would just hire on anybody, mercenaries at some point, right? We're going to see that. You're either going to see a draft and a lot of uninterested people going to war, which just, to me, here's the thing with the draft. If they're going to force somebody to fight a war they don't want to fight, that person's not going in the same as they would if they believed in the cause. They're going to be substantially weaker than somebody that wants to be there. That's just my 2 cents. So we're either going to see a draft and we're going to see a weakening of the military because of the draft, or we're going to see them just bring in whoever they can. I'm looking at the folks that aren't supposed to be here. Just saying. I'm just saying. A lot of people say, well, yeah, force the illegals to do mandatory service for 4 years. Well, then you're literally going down the same road that Rome did. Literally. And what ended up happening there was these people would not follow orders. They were sacking towns. They were robbing. They didn't care if it was the Roman people or otherwise. They just didn't care. So we're seeing, these are the 5 reasons that, I mean, we got to call it for what it is. Lee Greenwood once recorded a fantastic song, and I still love the song. But it was a different time. It was a different country. You can argue back and forth when that country changed. You know, you can say Y2K, you can say September the 11th, you can say 2020, whatever, you can say the last presidential election, doesn't matter. The point is, it has changed. and we're not going back. That's just a matter of fact. It's not going to happen. People that are like, we need to stand up before it's too late. That was a message that should have been broadcast 20 years ago, because now it is too late. Now it's about survival. Now it's about getting through, because we're going to be going through, as a country, a transition. The mighty United States empire is falling. The United States will still be here. It will look significantly different. We may be on a cashless, fully socialist system very, very soon. There's no way to know what is coming because we're in unprecedented territory. But again, if you're looking at historical context, it's going to get far worse before it gets better. And we'll talk about that the rest of the week with our list, okay? Till then, take care. God bless.